Hey there. For those of you guys who don't know who I am, my name is Lawrence. I work at Penza Street Physiotherapy and Sports Clinic. I am a physiotherapist that enjoys a bit of powerlifting, put it that way. And my experiences of powerlifting have been fun, and I have gotten plenty of what you would call niggles or injuries over the years of training like an idiot. And I figured that it would be useful for me to sort of go through a real life example of an injury that I relatively recently sustained, um, and provide sort of a piece by piece sort of way of, or step by step way of how I am managing this current injury at this stage. So that I'm just basically leaving breadcrumbs, so that, people could follow in my footsteps or even learn from my mistakes. So the things that I'm just, as you can see here, I have left some notes here, because I can't remember literally anything, um, is to outline exactly what happened and what's happening rehab wise. Provide, like I said, provide an example and set, and hopefully you guys understand the principles to allow for return to activity, and emphasize sort of, I think, how important it is of collaborating with your coach or your allied health practitioners if possible, because I did sustain sort of like a mid-grade injury of the pectoralis major, of my left side here. Um, and I think if you can get the appropriate people by your side, this process will be a lot easier for you, and you could potentially um, fast track it as fast as your body will allow healing. And we might dabble into maybe some technical and mechanical considerations of the rehab. So I'm gonna flick through this next sheet and just sort of roughly explain what the hell happened. So what, and I might close this, I might narrow this window down. So what kind of happened was on the 9th of August 2022, I was deloading, and obviously this video is aimed mainly towards people who do train and who do have an idea of how all this works. So forgive me if you don't understand, and if you don't understand, just reach out, and I'm more than happy to explain stuff. But what happened was that on the week where I was perhaps supposed to be taking it easy, this was the week where I actually went to the snows. I decided to increase the weight on the incline dumbbell bench press because, um, you know, you want to just smash your accessories because you're an idiot. Anyways, I should have written here. Just keep in mind that I have been steadily building my incline dumbbell bench press, and when you gain sort of momentum, you don't want it to stop. But here you are now. So what I did last week, for example, was it was a low incline dumbbell bench program by my lovely coach. And if he wants a shout out, I'm more than happy to do so. I just got to ask him first. So I did 45 kilos each hand for 3 lots of 10 last week. And then I thought, you know what? Even though it's my rest week, I'll just see if we can increase it. So then I increased it to 47.5. And in the first set, I got 9 reps. The second set, I got 9 reps, both at a 8 to 8.5 RPE. And then the third set, I had 1 rep. Then I did the second rep and I felt my left pec, and I did a third rep and I was like, nah, we're done. And then I put it down and just contemplated how stupid I was considering the whole situation. So the result was a pain probably about a 4 out of 10 on the NRS scale, on the numerical rating scale. It felt like 4 out of 10. It hurt, but it was annoying. I could still work with it. Very inconvenient at this time as I'm trying to build for next year, because I really, really want to get my numbers up. But that being said, I'm enjoying the process of training regardless, because training has always been a fundamental part of my life ever since I was in probably towards the end of high school. So, so this kind of sucks. And I've had peg tests before. I've had, it depends on which grading system you use. I mean, I've had like a grade 1 on my right side, which turned to a grade 2 because I pushed it too much. And you'll see this common theme throughout this rehab. Um, and this one, I do think it's probably like a I don't know, something in between a grade 1 or a grade 2 if you use that old classification. But anyways, so yeah, that kind of sucked, and then that kind of sort of, I was like, all right, well, I'm not doing more of that. So then, let's see what happened after that. So since the initial insult, I didn't put any ice on. I just thought to myself, well, it wasn't really impeding sort of what I was doing. Um, in retrospect, I probably should have gotten myself checked out with a fellow physio, but I kind of knew what happened. I kind of knew where it happened. So I was like, oh, get away with it. I do think the location of the tear is kind of at the muscular tendinous junction, so where the muscle becomes the tendon, at that edge there. And so potentially those injuries might take a little bit longer than if it was just a complete isolated muscle tear. But, it is what it is. You just run with it regardless. But if you have that knowledge, then that might help your planning in future. So what did I do after that? Didn't put any ice on because, one, it wasn't really impeding my movement to a significant degree. I could still work as a physio, as a manual therapist, whatever, no problem. And I didn't want to put the ice on because I didn't want to almost like blunt that inflammatory process. And I was going to mention as well, I mean, if you're more than happy, if you disagree with what I did, I'm more than happy to listen and take your thoughts. But I'm just sort of explaining what I did, what I didn't do, why I did it, and then you can sort of make your own conclusion. So yeah, I didn't ice it, didn't want to blunt the inflammatory process. In fact, I wanted to let it do its thing, as long as the inflammation and the chemical cascade resulting from that didn't significantly affect sort of my daily life and my performance. Then I was like, yeah, I'll get away with it. So that was that. But then the next 2 days, and this was on the Tuesday, where I, along with a couple of good friends of mine, drove down and went skiing for kind of the rest of the week. Anyways, so the next day, all I did was basic range of motion. So you could say that I was just literally like moving my arm, kind of in big circles to try and just test out where I was. I did this throughout the day. I just wanted to test it out and have a feel and have a go, and just, you still want to let it sort of settle down over the next couple of days. Did a few, and again, like the result of that is that, yeah, I felt it, but it wasn't too bad. So I would have rated that. I did rate that a 1 out of 10. The second day after that, I did basic range of motion stuff. Then I did a couple of incline push-ups on my knees. And what was the incline? It was like a low incline. So it's probably less stress on my pec region compared to if I did it flat. And again, just sort of loosening it up, I probably did. And when I say range of motion, yeah, I literally just waved my arm around in circles and kind of like just was exploring how far I could take it while sticking to that particular 1 out of 10 pain. Did a few of them. Did a few incline push-ups. That was again, I felt it in my pec, but I wasn't making it worse. It was about a 1 out of 10. I decided, you know what, it was 1 out of 10 and the pain is stable. Should be right, mate. Um, and that was good. And then I do recall on one of the mornings, either 12th or the 13th, I can't remember which one it was, but I did end up doing some flat push-ups in the morning before we drove through the slopes. I did 2 lots of 20, and that was relatively pain-free. So you can see here that sort of giving that, initial, 48 hours, you can give yourself that initial 24 to 72 hours um, to allow the inflammatory process to settle down. Enabled me to sort of get back to flat push-ups 2 by 20 on my toes, mind you, with about a 1 out of 10 pain. And again, you. A side note is that when I did go down in the push-ups, I was quite careful. I did go down quite slow to try and limit any sort of unwanted sort of shock loading to the area. I didn't want to just drop down and just pump a few push-ups like really quickly, because I thought, in my mind, I still feel like, I don't know if I want to if I want to injure this or not. And then the other 2 days we were just skiing like crazy, so then we just rested. And I am not a skilled skier by any means, but that trip was hella fun. But anyways, we did a few. You can tell that I did some rehab, and the rehab started relatively early. And could I have potentially pushed that back a little bit? Well, potentially yes. But again, I don't. For me, psychologically, the early sort of getting back into it in some way, shape, or form is slowly sort of building that confidence, which is really, really important when you're rehabbing this kind of thing, because it does play in your mind a little bit. You don't know when it's going to go. You don't know if it's ready. These are the things that like play in your head. And the thing is that if you don't, I was going to say, if you don't know if you're like ready, you have to a degree test it out in a controlled scenario, and the rest of it you just leave it up to chance or whatever. But I think a systematic gradual sort of return to sport and return to the demands of what you do is important. I injured my shoulder doing incline dumbbell bench press. I have every intention to get back into incline dumbbell bench press unless there is a more suitable alternative which can produce the results that I want. So then, my sport of powerlifting and sport, and some people argue whether powerlifting is a sport or not, and those that know me know that I just bag myself out self-deprecatingly heaps all the time. But yes, I do powerlifting. My sport is competition bench press, which requires me to have some sort of arch and requires me to maintain stability on the bench, and my feet are down while I'm pressing. I have to lower the bar to my chest and I have to press it up. So I need to be able to do that. And part of building that bench press at the moment in consultation with my coach is to do incline double bench press, because that seems to have some sort of carryover, whether directly or indirectly. We can argue that all day. So long story short, yes, I want to return to incline double bench pressing. I want to return to the thing that made me sore, but just maybe manage my loads better. Potentially change technique or not even change technique. Again, that's another discussion of how you do it, which hopefully, if I remember, I will cover in the next sort of few minutes or so. So we get back and we are back into training now, and here is something interesting. This was the similar format to last program: top single at 110 kilos, then 3x3 at 100 kilos. But me being a bit crazy and testing it out, I did a top single at 110. I did feel that was a 1 to 2 out of 10 pain, but I could manage that, didn't increase, which was great. First set of 3 at 100 with a tempo bench press, and tempo specifically, I think it was a 4-second down, 2-second pause. Oh, they're painful. But they're painful mentally. But the first triple at 100 was fine. Then the second sort of set at 100, I stopped at 2 reps because I felt my pec pull on that second rep went up to about a 3 out of 10 pain. And then I tried to back down and did 90. And I tried to do 1 rep, and it was luckily enough, still maintained a 3 out of 10, but I wasn't going to push it because it was already pretty sore and I could feel my pec. So I made that sort of executive decision to sort of stop it there, thankfully. But that being said, I did try a bit of light pec deck after I finished everything else, and I managed to hit, like whatever it is the cable stack is in my gym, 23 to 27, 23 first set, 27 second set, 2 sets times 10. Who knows if it's in pounds or kilos, depends on the machine. And this is the thing as well, because if you go to different gyms, you're going to get different machines, and you're going to get, it'll feel different, obviously, to what you're used to. So you need to adjust the weight, you need to adjust the machine based on sort of maybe what you're used to. It will provide a new stimulus. As long as you're providing enough of a stimulus, you should be okay. But, there was good things. At least I still had, some sort of upper end strength there. Yes, my bench press is rubbish, as people who know me might know. But that being said, I probably shouldn't have pushed it that much with 100. Maybe in retrospect, I probably should have pulled back a little bit more. Maybe capped myself at like 90 or like 80, if that. The second day after that, woke up feeling okay, and then I decided to, okay, let's give it a go. And we got up to about 20 kilos with a set of 10 with 1 out of 10 discomfort. That being said, this incline bench press in particular was probably sandbagged a little bit, not only in the weight, but also the way I did it, which was probably I was probably cutting how deep I went. So I was probably going not as deep as you probably should with the incline double bench press. But again, it's just trying to get in there, and at least I did some half reps. It's better than nothing. Rest day 17th. Thursday, again, knowing from the understanding sort of the results of the 15th here, I came into the 18th with a comp bench press with a slightly better plan to just generally go more conservatively to allow the pec to recover. So top set 110 comp bench press, competition style bench press, and then 3x5, and you can tell that it's much less than here, 80, 80, 70, just like, you know what, take it easy, we'll go from there. Surprisingly enough though, dumbbell bench press, so this was a flat dumbbell bench. I did 15, 20, 20 I did a set of 15 kilos, set at 20, 25, 30, 32.5, or around 10 reps. And that was okay. Again, noting that one, it was partial range, and two, something that people may notice later, that I actually wasn't gripping it sort of flat like that. I actually was turning my wrist about 45 degrees to decrease the strain on the pectoral muscles and to sort of make my triceps, to a degree, work a bit harder. Thankfully, this, on this day, I saw a mate of mine, one, to catch up, and two, he does work part-time as a remedial therapist. And this was after I did my day 4, which was deadlifts and 10 squats. And again, you don't have to do this, but I personally did feel subjectively better after sort of this hands-on manual therapy treatment. So it worked for me. Won't work for everyone. So, at the end of the day, I implore you guys to, do what works. But, if you don't know how to deal with this kind of injury, have someone there guide you through this. It's probably better off that way. And I say this both as an athlete, but also as a health professional. I think you do need someone who knows what they're doing to go through. Otherwise, you might just be running around in circles. So yeah, I saw a mate for a massage and a catch up, and like after that, he did work into my pec a little bit. It kind of hurt a little bit, but I did feel subjectively a lot better after that. But was it the 2 days of rest after that? Who knows? I probably know. Probably was a combination of both, to be honest with you. We could argue about whatever, but like, was it worth it for me? Yeah, it's absolutely worth it for me. So, I do think that there potentially is a place for manual therapy should you respond to it, whether it is placebo or not. Put it that way. So this was the first week back. So at least we got something done. At least we're getting some stimulus for the pec here, and with the pec deck as well. Keep in mind that I started off probably doing about 3/4 of the way, all the way, and then as I got more confident, then I could extend it all the way. Which I'll explain more here. So week 2 was a bit of a better week, interestingly enough. Again, repeating this, I was able to successfully do a tempo bench press and the pec deck. Again, increasing the weight from the pec deck from like 23, gradually building up to 32, which was the next couple of pins, gradually over time. And I did, I kept it the top set at 110, and we did 3 lots of 3 at 100, and I wasn't in any pain whatsoever. That being said, though, I did probably sandbag the pauses a little bit. So instead of a 2-second pause, it definitely looked probably more like a 1-second pause. But I'll take a win. At least I did it, so it wasn't sore, which was good. But the great thing is that compared to last week, I managed to do some incline dumbbell bench pressing, and it didn't have any pain. Again, 32.5, 37.5, 42.5, 3 lots of 10. The reason why I did that is because I wanted to test out the waters with 32. So I did 32 for 10, or I did 32, and I came in, I was like, if I can do 10, great, I'll increase the weight. If I can't do 10, then I'll just work with whatever I have. So if it became a little bit sore at 32 at like the 7th rep, I would have stayed at 32 for sure, because I didn't see the point in increasing the weight and further risk my pec to, get injured more. But, that being said, the risk you take is really up to you. So you go from incline dumbbell bench press, and again, I like the ascending sets because it slowly builds that confidence, and you sort of, the way I look at it is that you earn the right to increase the weight, especially with this kind of injury. And there was no pain, which is great. So moving on to comp bench press, again, compared to last week, you can see it was an increase from 110 to 117.5. Trying to follow the prescribed RPE, which I have no idea, I forgot. But then the back downs were heaps better, 100, 102.5, 105. Again, that ascending set, still keeping in within the confines of the program, but allowing me to build that confidence, and I can say to myself, oh man, I didn't do just 100, I can do 105 now, and it was great. And then the dumbbells afterwards, again, just packing in more of that volume into that day as well. So 35, 40, 42.5, again, an ascending set. Plus with the pec deck as well, increasing that even from a couple of days ago, from 32 to 36. And on this day, or even this day, I was doing end range pulses. So I was literally loading the pec at the range, at the stretch position where I seemed to be more likely to get injured, which was, again, just building that confidence. Rested a couple of days, and this comes to today with a tempo bench press and the pec deck. And again, same sort of thing, like I did the same thing, but I did do a longer tempo and a pause. And I think there were some subtle changes in technique that people probably didn't see. With the previous sort of sessions here, I was probably more focused on externally rotating myself, and that probably culminated in me, quote unquote, tucking my elbow in a little bit more to engage sort of my triceps a little bit more, or to feel like I was engaging my triceps a little bit more. This set here, or this day here, which was funny enough today, I didn't think of, really sort of, quote unquote, tucking my elbows in or whatever. I just let the bar go down, and, I tried to execute the bench press like I would if I'm doing a competition bench press, which means less cues and just letting my body do what it needs to do, provided that I set up appropriately. I definitely did a longer tempo. and a proper 2 second pause. I think that helped a bit. But that being said, on that final set of 100 today, I did feel my pec a little bit flare up a little bit today, and maybe that was just, maybe it was because of that change in technique, going from that sort of like using that arm, using the triceps slightly less, and relying on my pec, so quote unquote a little bit more. But that's cool. Again, I'll just keep auto regulating and keep moving on from there, and it's just going to go up from there basically. Yeah, so that's sort of the outline of these sort of the past sort of couple of weeks of how I've gone through sort of my pec so far. I will continue to do so until it's completely pain free, and I will continue to work on some things like a pec deck, or even like a dumbbell fly, like a flat or an incline dumbbell fly, to work sort of quote unquote as much of the pec as I can. I do like to play with different angles, because I do subjectively feel that it kind of quote unquote hits different bits of the pec, and I do think that there is a role in it, but by and large the main thing is to manage loads, provide enough of a stimulus to try and elicit adaptation, but without creating further damage, if that makes sense, especially with a relatively what was acute injury now kind of leading into subacute. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. If you want me to keep rambling on, I probably will, or if you want an update, I'll probably let you know in a few weeks. But yeah, hope this helps. Hope this has provided some sort of a rough sort of idea of what I did and how I went through it. Of course, I could have done things differently. I could have probably added some more rehab days potentially. I could have maybe had a lighter day. So if I just put this down, if I look back here, I'm like, oh, you probably get away with a light day here or a light day here potentially. So you have a day in between. So you could do a light sort of chest day if you need to. Or you can chuck one in right before, a light chest day here or a light chest day here, or here. There's plenty of options there, but due to my current schedule and my current work schedule and life schedule, just following the program seemed to be the best plan so far. The other thing I want to talk about is that if there is sort of any changes in technique, could I have improved my technique more to maybe quote unquote put less pressure on the pec? Maybe I could bench with a narrower grip, or things like that. The answer is maybe, but at the end of the day, I mean, in consultation with my coach, I think that, I'm benching the way that I am now because it is the best way at the moment to produce the maximum amount of force and to perform the best on the platform. So therefore, I am not going to make any sort of long-term changes. But it could change. If this becomes a recurrent thing, we could potentially look at narrowing the grip slightly. There are plenty of other options there to consider. But again, this discussion isn't as simple as you think. I think that's about it. If you've got any questions, let us know. If you want to if you want to share this, you can like, comment, subscribe. I think that's the thing that everyone does. If you want to share it, that's fine. Just tag us, or if you think that this will benefit someone, just send it over and just let us know. It'd be nice to sort of hear what your thoughts are. Thanks, guys.